By 1984, former Be-Bop Deluxe and Red Noise guitarist mastermind Bill Nelson had fully evolved into his electropop and ambient phase. And the latter was represented by the 4 LP release that year called Trial by Intimacy, the Book of Splendours, yes, containing 4 albums also released separately on his own Cocteau label, including the album The Summer of God's Piano, full of instrumentals, including this one, Orient Pearl. Okay, I love the half step in this, and the sounds. Let's take them apart. Okay, we got that kind of invoking sort of like an oriental instrument of some kind. Oh, hear that little pipey, light, kind of flute-like sound? A lot of the tracks on from this period, like on that Trial by Intimacy box, were just kind of like these sound shapes, really brief, like him finding certain sound effects on his arsenal of keyboards and saying, "Oh, I like the sound of that. I'll layer that with this and slap a title onto it." But this has a lot of like melodic harmonic depth to it. I'm hearing like 2 melodies going on at once. How many sounds do we got going on at once? Okay. Hear that bass doom doo doo doom doom. Underneath that doom 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 doom. And then that kind of flute-like sound comes da na 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 na, with that bass line still running, that boom 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 boom. And that constant like steam release that's going on in the background too. And those more sustained sounds that like they're coming from everywhere, like the like rays of luminous light. That's the ultimate. That's what really gives the track its lift, its contour. That half step change between that with that vibrato sound. Yeah, and those slower sounds, like. Just kind of beaming in like that. Also appreciate the electronic percussion. I can't even count how many layers are on this. I wonder if the title came after or before, or where he gets some. The titles are really creative. It seems like a lot of imagination went into them. Except I do wonder how much of it may have come from his readings of Jean Cocteau. Oh, the way it fades out, those like fading notes with that vibrato sound and that half step and everything. Beautiful. Over and done in 2020, and it just could go on and on and on. And I'd be happy. Yeah, I'm wondering. The reason I asked about that title thing is because I'm wondering if once he had that sound down, that dong, 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 if it only made sense to like make some kind of Eastern reference in the title to drive home the point, or if he had the title first and then thought that, oh, I'll tweak around this keyboard sound or that one to give it sort of an Oriental flavor. Yeah. Orient Pearl by Bill Nelson from the Summer of God's Piano. Let's hear another track from the album, The Charm of Transit. Okay, and once again, we've got, it starts out with an electronic rhythmic structure, and the chords start layering on. Don't know. I think we're landing in G7. Yeah, G, F. Yeah, G with an F in it.
In the windows of the big house, the lights were out, and the countryside was sunk in slumber.
F major 7. Oh, hear that little sound right there? That really high sound, kind of like woodwindy sound, like piping up, and over that slightly trebly kind of underneath it.
Under the open, starlit sky.
Oh, those little fleeting sounds. I wonder where these the spoken word bits are coming from.
So that night, Wanda set off on a journey across the world.
May have some historical reference here. The very little credits are given in the traditional media as far as I just assume it's all recorded by Bill Nelson himself, layer upon layer, at his own studio. Yeah. I think by this point he had his own home studio up in Yorkshire, where he was like doing his own recordings for his Cocteau label and producing other artists from time to time, and would often have people like from Ippudu in Japan up there. Yeah.
I think I must have been dreaming.
This is from a movie. If anyone recognizes those quotes, yeah, leave a comment. Once again, this is the tracks that really stand out to me, like this one and the last one from this album, are ones that in addition to really colorful tones and textures, also have compelling, beautiful choices in keys. Like because a lot of people who are connoisseurs of ambient music don't really seem to care much about the key center, the chords used. They don't even think about it. It's just kind of immaterial. But like that's one of the first things I noticed. What distinguishes kind of like a really exceptional piece in this vein versus something. But then again, this could calling it this, just referring to this as ambient, I guess doesn't really do it justice, because it doesn't really just function as background music or sonic wallpaper. It's much more active and layered, nuanced. It could just as easily be placed in the soundtrack vein, or heck, the library vein. Heck, if it was used for anything anyway, it easily could be.
Standing in their garden, the marble turrets of their palace rose pink in the setting sun.
How would one describe that rhythmic structure? That those electronic percussions that are being used became quite commonplace, even more like in the late '80s. God, hear all those little layers that are just like weaving over it. There's kind of like a botanical feel to it. I'm kind of like picturing like a garden with like little birds and yeah, like a sunlight, like like something from out like those photographs that John Fox was taking and using to accompany his releases, like starting from around like 1981, the Garden album. Uh, yeah, like sounds, kind of higher sounds are weaving down. Those kind of like flute-like sounds, while the lower sounds are kind of going up and.
S'il vous plaît, monsieur, la place de la mairie. Alors, la place de la mairie.
Oh, that kind of that electric piano sound right there. That throws in. I love the key that it throws in.
C'est simple, hein? Vous allez tout droit, au deuxième feu, vous tournez à droite et vous allez voir une grande place.
I think that may have been the first time C made an appearance. Yeah, C. Oh, hear that? No, 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 no. Kind of very much. Some of these sounds are very much what I would consider like new romantic in nature. Some of them even sort of approximate the tones of the E bow, even though I don't think that's used. I think this is all like electronic instruments on these albums. Yeah, but that E bow tone that kind of has that warm, kind of fuzzy violin type tone to it that was used on a lot of recordings during the early 80s. Like Ultravox used it, Bill Nelson used it on his electro-pop recordings. Yeah.
La place de la mairie. Alors, la place de la mairie, c'est simple. Vous allez tout droit, au deuxième feu, vous tournez à droite et vous allez voir une grande place.
Hear all that electronic bass too, that bum 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 bum.
Paris, s'il vous plaît. Paris, s'il vous plaît.
I love that touch of putting like female French vocals in, like. Yeah, it's a touch that very much played well into the electropop of this era, like starting with Fade to Grey by Visage, and then used, of course, by the French duo Mathematiques Moderne, like French female vocals over like musical backdrops similar to this, yeah.
Return, please.
Suddenly the more notes come in and kind of corrupt things like harmonically just a little bit. So many melodies going on once. Don't. I hear that sustained kind of freezing sound.
End of cassette 2.
Yeah, that was The Charm of Transit by Bill Nelson from his 1984 release, The Summer of God's Piano, one of 4 instrumental albums put out around the same time on the Cocteau label, compiled in the box set Trial by Intimacy. These songs are so short. Let's hear a couple more. The Sleep of Hollywood. Getting kind of like a thresholdy vibe from this, kind of like Walking on Clouds, you know, like kind of a Heaven's Gate vibe. Basically like a step, like a half step, like F to E, like F to E minor. a Fairlight bell sound or a Fairlight like mallet sound. Actually, it's maybe kind of the sound you could get like by hitting glass if it has a certain kind of cavity in it. Or like metal percussion, like except simulated on a Fairlight. Yeah, this one is basically all like about like closed cadences over a half step with lots of kind of like windy sounds and punctuated by that more percussive electronic sound that. And I wonder what inspired this title, "The Sleep of Hollywood." Like I'm trying, just bear that in mind as this music plays. Is this about Hollywood when the city sleeps, or is it about the lost icons of classic Hollywood? Like, is it because that title has me just floating pictures of like I see black and white photos of like Marilyn Monroe and James Cagney and you know all them, Tyrone Power, yeah, passing me by. Is this about that big acting guild up in the sky? The fade outs are often quite important because they give you time to pause. It's because it's music to just kind of chill by. Let's hear one more track from the album, the very brief one, only 50 seconds long, "The Difficulty of Being." Okay, like a 4-chord sequence right here, with kind of a sound that kind of approximates the old. It's kind of like a digital version, it seems, of the old electric piano sound of the 70s. No, scratch that. It's more like kind of like a keyboard equivalent of the harmonic sound that you get the pull off technique on the 12th and 7th frets on guitar. Yeah, it kind of approximates that sound like that you get when you go boom, 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 like that. Some really strong kind of booming percussion, open cadence on this one. Well, that's quite a lot of detail for just like 50 seconds or so. I'm wondering if maybe some of these really short pieces were originally conceived. The more developed ones anyway, that actually have a lot of content, whether they were ideas for like song parts that ultimately didn't fit in to any finished songs. And so he just put like maybe some of these ideas may have actually been conceived more for some of the like electro pop material. Oh, this could make a good bridge or a good middle eight somewhere, and then when some of the songs reach their final reach completion, some of these parts were just left hanging, and so he devoted them to these projects instead. Yeah, that was Bill Nelson, "The Difficulty of Being." Before that, "The Sleep of Hollywood." Before that, "The Charm Transit," and at the top of the set, "Orient Pearl." 4 tracks from his early 80s Cocteau instrumental release, "The Summer of God's Piano." I don't actually know when it came out individually. But I know that the Trial by Intimacy, the Book of Splendours, was released as a box set in 1984, including The Summer of God's Piano, Pavilions of the Heart and Soul, A Catalog of Obsessions, and Chamber of Dreams, all with very similar covers, black framed, with photos in the center of like kind of surrealistic looking photos that he had taken, because he also was a photographer in his spare time. And certain releases of an earlier title, kind of in this vein, Sounding the Ritual Echo, Atmospheres for Dreaming, also seem to have been released at least individually in the series, even if it wasn't contained in this box set. Yeah. Very prolific with these instrumental releases during the 1980s and into the following decade as well. Yeah, Bill Nelson, former guitarist, pyrotechnic of Be-Bop Deluxe, turned ambient electropop musician in the 1980s, always very prolific, exploring new ideas and just mastering just anything you put his mind to. Yes. For more rubies and sapphires from the catalog of Bill Nelson, see the directory of albums by English B artists, linked in the description below, for red hot tracks and purples from Bill Nelson's the first 10 years of his solo career anyway, from the time that he left Be-Bop Deluxe, Red Noise album, all the way up through the late 1980s, Chance Encounters in the Gardens of Light. Yeah, and you can also, on that same page, since it's B, you can also see the Be-Bop Deluxe albums as well, Ruby Mine, Sapphire, to explore all the best, red hot tracks at your own leisure. Yes, as well as many other artists in the B, letter of the English, of the alphabet of English artists. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the 4 tracks we just heard, the nuances, the layers, the sounds, the tonal colors, and what kind of imagery it conjured up in your mind. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.